everyone. My name is Jeremy, creator and co-host of the Star Trek Wars podcast. Joining me tonight is my co-host and co-life partner, Chelsea. Hello, Chelsea.
Hi, Jeremy.
All right.
All right.
Welcome to Star Trek Wars. I thought you were going to do that thing.
I was waiting for you to be like, are you ready to do this?
Oh, perfect. Well, then forget I said anything
All right.
because this is completely improvised. Welcome to Star Trek Wars, your official bootleg Star Trek podcast. The episode we're reviewing tonight will be rated on a scale from 1 to 10 by us, the co-hosts, and you guys in the Star Trek Wars Council that left a rating on our Facebook page. If you wish to join the council and have your vote counted for next week's episode, head over to that page. You can find us by searching for Star Trek Wars. The council should pop up right at the top. There you can rate the episode yourself and can also leave a comment that'll be potentially read on air. It's a great community. We're all on there, very active, and love talking Trek with you. Chelsea, are you ready to do this?
This one is ready.
Then let's get started. Star Trek Lower Deck Season 2, Episode 8, I, Excretus. Written by Ann Kim, directed by Kim Arndt. A consultant arrives on the USS Cerritos to run drills that require the lower deckers and bridge crew to swap duties. Chelsea, what are your general thoughts this week before we delve into the episode?
I have 2 words for you. I loved this episode.
Oh, okay. Very good. I absolutely love this episode too. Loved this episode. Before we get into our pros and maybe any cons we have, there were a lot more callbacks and Easter eggs this week than in the last 2 weeks. Chelsea, did you happen to catch any in what we like to call Chelsea's Callback Corner?
Okay. It felt like there were a lot of call-outs or Easter eggs or callbacks, whatever. Some of which I will admit I cheated. And Mariner was like, oh, this is like the time when? And I'm like, well, that must be an Easter
must have
egg.
been the time. Okay, we'll see if that works.
This first one I'm probably going to butcher, but the time loop, I know that's probably in other Star Trek. But I remember it from the short Trek with Harry. Was it Harry Mudd? No, it was the guy with the tribbles. What was that short Trek for Discovery where he's stuck on the time loop? Was that Harry Mudd?
There was a Discovery episode with Harry Mudd where he keeps jumping back like 12 minutes.
Oh, no. So then this was definitely, the guy that does Archer.
There's no time with the Tribbles, though, was there? The Tribbles just overtook the ship.
There was a weird time loop in New Trek. I remember that much. I just don't remember.
Yeah, I remember the Harry Mudd one because he kept like trying to take over the ship.
Was that a time loop?
Well, he kept failing and then it would reset again.
Okay, so then that must be what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, it was like the 6th or 7th episode.
Okay.
Magic to make the sanest man go mad for Discovery.
Okay.
Doesn't count. Stricken off the record.
Wow, you're so rude.
Next.
The Pantronian is a species from the animated series.
You definitely cheated.
You know what? I'm getting real sick of your shit.
You called it by its name. I had to look that up.
They said it. They said it in the episode.
Okay.
They said, oh, I heard those Pantronians could split their bodies into thirds.
I'll allow it, but you're on thin ice. But how did you know it was from TAS?
Because I'm smart and shit.
You did not
Back
know
off.
that. All right. You are on a thin ice, counselor, but continue.
Obviously, the mirror universe is everywhere. So there's that. Mm-hmm. The whole premise behind the honorable death for the Klingon, that's a Worf thing, right?
Yeah, and that's a definite, exact premise of a TNG episode.
Yes, yep. With that being said, the crate falling on Ransom and him just brushing it off felt like a jab at Worf as well.
I didn't notice a crate. Oh, was it when they were all stacking?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I think you should retract your, you're on thin ice, missus.
All right, we are putting you back on. That doesn't sound like it's a positive.
Nope. The Old West planet thing is a Star Trek thing for sure that happens in other Star Treks.
Okay.
The warp core breach is how Spock dies the first time. And then they follow that up with a scenario of stealing the Cerritos out of space dock to save Spock from the Genesis planet.
Mm-hmm. You're on a roll.
You might need your bleep for this, but the fighting and fucking disease, I'm assuming. great job, is a Star Trek thing.
This is definitely a Star Trek thing.
Because Mariner said so, and her word is gospel.
We're going to have to set the parameters for these
You know what? You don't get to make
callbacks.
rules on my life.
There was definitely a Star Trek thing. I don't
there
think
was
should count.
a Q mention. And then the guy showed up dressed like a Robin Hood character. So that's 2. There was a Jim Hadar mention, which was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I already said that one. All of the this is definitely cheating. But there's no rules. All of the scenarios with the crystalline entities that Mariner calls out when they're looking for something dangerous to do. The Borg Queen entering the room spine first.
Definitely.
The entire scene with Boimler and the Borg Queen is like the data scene. And then the melty color thing on the bridge is from the motion picture.
Yes.
Right? That's it. That's what I got.
Yeah, the same like wormhole effects.
And all of them were legit and none of them were considered cheating. And I don't really care what you have to say about that.
That's definitely a Star Trek thing.
Well, it is.
All right, that's been Chelsea's Callback Corner. All right. That the Wild West callback, like there has been a few westerns. I think Enterprise had a western. Of course, there was Next Gen with Worf and his son on the holodeck, and Data becomes all the villains and a fistful of Datas. But the biggest one for the Mariner callback is a TOS episode called Spectre of the Gun, because it was all the Old West like backdrop setting and stuff, but also with that red background. That's exactly like spot on the set that they had in that episode.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, Spectre of the Gun, where Kirk and crew face off against Wyatt Earp and his gang at the OK Corral.
Ooh, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Told you it was a Star Trek thing.
Yeah, the temporal causality loop. Yeah, definitely from that. Also from an episode, one of the best Next Gen episodes, definitely the best Beverly Crusher episode is Cause and Effect, where at the end of each act, the Enterprise blows up and then restarts again the next act. And
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Because she's the one that has to take the bridge and figure it out.
Yes.
Yes.
And the term temporal causality loop actually comes from that, when they finally get out of that loop and they find out that the Federation starship that collides with them is like 100 years old, and Kelsey Grammer is the captain.
Oh, that's a long griff.
Another just I love the podcast with Tawny Newsome and stuff. She's mentioned on many podcasts that she was raised on horses and it was in like horse contests and like riding and stuff. So the fact that Mariner cannot ride any horses was a fun little Easter egg. And yeah, I thought I was going to have this one. Sherry Yenyam, the first Pandronian we've seen since the titular Bem in the animated series episode.
Oh, Bimbastic.
Bimbastic. Yeah, that was the name of the podcast episode where we covered the episode Bim, and he was truly awful, which is why that is not on any of my recommendations. Yeah, the whole this one, that all that
That's
separating
weird.
himself.
Yeah.
Sherry Yenyam, 1,000 times better than Bim.
Bim.
Okay, pros. What worked for you, Chelsea?
I think the humor in this episode was spot on throughout the entirety of the episode. Boimler refusing to give up until he gets 100% is so Boimler. And his whole, can't have that line. I love that. I think it's both bizarre and super practical that the Borg keep their babies in a drawer.
Yes.
We could learn a lot from them.
I think you're getting the wrong life lessons from Star Trek.
They accept everybody and they keep their babies in drawers. I don't see the problem. I like the Ta'ana and Shaq's relationship for some reason. I think they're so weirdly mismatched and adorable. I don't know. I kind of like that.
Yeah, it kind of stretches out to last year where they planted a kiss on each other. And
I don't know. I don't think I want to know more about it.
Right.
But
this might be as far as we want to see it.
I like seeing it from a safe distance for sure. for the first time, I think, in Lower Decks, like Captain Freeman was legit.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
Loved her. It was really cool. We had a Borg Queen cameo, like the actual Borg Queen, her voice. That was neat. Tendy's excitement over pesto is pretty relatable. Yeah, I think that was perfect. I also feel like shouting when I get to eat pesto.
You do.
So
you make the same exclamation.
I loved the cheesy like Full House ending where it's just like some shitty joke and then everybody laughs. But like, meanwhile, Boimler's like actually psychologically broken, and they're just
took
like
everything away from me.
Like, I love that. And then this is kind of a weird pro, but I felt like the computer voice doing the drill simulations sounded like our very own Barbara Whipple, and it made me happy.
Oh,
I know. I was like, oh, she sounds like the computer. She sounds like Barbara. This is crazy.
Barbara, get back to us.
It was so cool. I don't know. Yeah, because at first I was really excited, and then I was like, is she cheating on us?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, granted, we don't pay as well as Paramount Plus or at all.
Yeah.
But at least give us a heads up, Barbara.
Seriously. We have feelings. Also, you're great. But those are my pros. What do you have for pros?
Yes, the Borg Queen, the original, Alice Krieg. I want to say Krieg so much because that's what I've said since 1996, but she's great. I love her. And as soon as she talks, like that voice, like, oh, that is her.
Yep. So cool.
A great line. I'm glad that Shax is back. Okay, I'm glad. I do love Shax.
Yeah.
I'm okay. We see Kayshawn. He's gotten some speaking roles. We see him in the background this week. Shax is great. That's never been in disputed. We get we're all equals here, and then they sleep in a hallway. Oh, so great! And of course, it's naked time. Again and again.
Or when he's talking about like their replicators only make one piece of pizza at a time.
Mir Billups. I think that's a great continuity from last week where the Mir Billups just can't get enough sex and torture. Like he's just so horny all the time.
Yeah, you can lose a whole day on that.
And also he has facial hair everywhere his Prime Universe counterpart does not. So everywhere but a mustache he has facial hair. So it's very Mir. The very Klingon. How's that drink, Chelsea?
Sorry. Oh my gosh.
The very Klingon. You must help me kill myself. I broke my back picking up a peanut.
So tough.
Such a scenario. Everything is great about this episode for reals. But my favorite part, I absolutely love what they've done with Boimler. Not just this episode, but this entire season. He's no longer the laughing stock of the show and is genuinely kicking ass. And he's doing it, and the writers are doing it without taking away or diminishing anything from Mariner. Mm-hmm. They have both become successful, but in very different ways. Boimler has become, he's like by the book badass, which is why he excelled in the Borg sim. He's an excellent test taker. Mm-hmm. Mariner, on the other hand, failed those training programs almost instantly for the exact same reason. She excels in the real world. She thinks outside of the box. So she was punished immediately for trying to do what you're not supposed to do in the programming, which is why she's so great in the real world. Didn't work here, which is why she failed almost instantly faster than anybody else. So I don't think either one of them failed here, but this situation, it was Boimler's approach that saved the day. Mm-hmm. The awesome thing about this is next week it may have to be Mariner saving the day, regardless of the situation going forward. These guys seem to have it covered on both bases. So
yep, I like it.
And same goes for the other half of the foursome. Rutherford and Tendi, they each didn't fail because they're bad at their job. They failed because they were programmed to fail. And yeah, some of the point is leadership is tough. But damn, man, at least Spock had gloves when he decided to enter the death chamber. Like, Rutherford didn't get the gloves, so he couldn't even get in there.
You sounded like Eugene Cordero when you said, damn, man.
Damn, man. We get gloves. And he almost succeeded by putting his shoes on his hands. He almost got through there. So that's not his fault. And poor Tendi, that situation is an exact episode of Next Gen called Ethics, where a empty barrel falls on Worf and he demands to die. Dr. Crusher wasn't really put in that position in ethics either, but Riker was. He asked Riker to do the do, which I guess has a different meaning now. Thanks to Rutherford. It was up to Riker to kill Worf, but then Riker made Worf's decision even harder by forcing his little kid to commit the assisted
Alexander?
suicide. Yeah, which is why Worf backed down. He didn't want his 4-year-old to do it, but that is Klingon custom. Worf wants to do Klingon customs. It's your firstborn son, so here's this little toddler. Ask him to kill you. And Worf didn't. Now, Tendi didn't have an Alexander in her sim, and for the first time ever, I'm saying not having Alexander there was a bad thing. So this is a Star Trek Wars first. The bonding of the lower and upper decks at the bar from an embarrassment of Dupplers a couple episodes ago continues to grow and improve in a great way this week. So I love seeing that growth. I just love seeing the entire crew work together. And I love Mariner and Captain Freeman on the same page, because when they are on the same page, they're a badass combo. Yep. All that camaraderie, all that stuff. I love it. Really good. Do you have any cons this week?
No, but once again, I did forget a pro.
Okay.
I love that Captain Freeman and Mariner finally were like, oh, we understand why this happened. It's because we need to work as a team, and we need to be better, and we need to be more empathetic, and lift each other up. And she's like, no. It's the one time they actually get the point and don't have to have it brutally beaten into them. And they're just like, oh shit.
That wasn't the
That's
point.
embarrassing. Also, I feel like if an empty crate fell on me and knocked me over, I too would probably want to kill myself, because that's embarrassing, especially as the chief of security. But that's neither here nor there. I don't have cons. I do have 2 questions.
Okay.
Kind of weird, but why does the drill instructor only have 1 canine? Is that a species specific thing? She only
Could
had
be
1 fang, or is she just a raggedy old?
She might be a raggedy old, but it's been a while since I looked down the mouth of Bem, because
it's gross down there. It sounds like
he's brutal.
Ew.
He's like an Alexander that can separate himself.
Bim the Brutal.
Yeah. So it could be one of their things. Maybe her other fang is off floating somewhere else.
That's gross. Just imagine you're just going to the mess hall for lunch and there's just a fucking tooth floating in front of you.
Maybe
I'm not hungry anymore.
She's I got to do this seminar, but I'm really hungry, so I'm going to send this tooth to get this apple started.
And it's just sitting there on a table, just hammering at it. Oh, gross. It's just applesauce when she gets there.
Yeah, she just gum it up.
This is nasty. Second one's, and I feel like I just missed something, but why wasn't Shax on the bridge when they were trying to scare the drill instructor?
They were still celebrating. So this was the thing.
Just Mariner and Freeman and Ransom?
Yep, because everybody else, Ransom was coming on
But
duty,
Ransom
I
was
guess.
celebrating too.
Yeah.
And bridge officers seem like they all work the same shift, the first officers like that.
Yeah, I feel with the celebration, things were happening, and it was just whoever was up on the bridge at the time, because they had left, Mariner and Ransom left the celebration to say, we know what you're doing.
Oh.
And that's when they found out. So they drug her to the bridge, and whoever was on duty
Just,
there,
happened to
here
be
we go.
there.
Yeah.
Okay. Those aren't cons. Those were my questions. What do you have for cons?
Just one, and it's not a con, it's a nerd pick, but it's where's the Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise love? And emphasis on Deep Space Nine, of course, because that's my favorite show of all time. But there's so many programs you can pick from. It's I don't know why they had 30 programs here, and they were all Next Gen and TOS. And there's a ton. You can't have someone fighting in a Jem'Hadar prison camp like Worf and hitting those beacons. That's a great training program. No Tuvix dilemmas. Could have been funny.
That would have been funny.
No temporal Cold War, which was what the Enterprise is all about, or the Xindi. I love this episode, but once again, I would love to see more love for things outside of Next Gen and TOS.
Is it the Pale Moonlight where Cisco admits to murdering? That would have been a good drill.
Yeah, even
what would you do in this situation?
Because they had that list of 30 drills.
Yeah.
Just having Pale Moonlight as instead of it's just everything is episode titles from Next Gen.
Yeah.
And the original series.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into my 3 Trekcommendations. And of course, this is a segment where, based on this week's episode, which was really difficult, finding 3 episodes that I want to Trecommend.
Well, get to Trecommending.
I vomited into the microphone. No, but I do love that.
I must speak to you. I have a Trecommend.
So for number 3, and of course, we're going to have you guess maybe the synopsis based on the title alone. But some of these might be easier than others because they're Star Trek things, like you said in your Chelsea's Callback Corner.
Mm-hmm. Now I feel like you're just being insulted.
The name of the episode is called The Naked Time. Ugh. And it is an original series episode, season 1, episode 5.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
No, that's not the one with those weird blonde people.
I don't think you've seen it.
Okay, so then not the one with the weird blonde people.
No.
All right, so
that's
here's
a good
the thing.
guess
There's
for most
this like
episodes.
viral disease thing, and it's going around, and it's making people have to give in to their inhibitions, and also very violent. So they're basically like Vulcans and Ponfar if there's not a mate available.
Chelsea, you're absolutely correct.
Woo!
Sorry, scared the dog.
Oh, sorry, Basil.
Yeah, that is it. And it's not all like, it kind of frees all your incubations. That's not
Inhibitions?
the right. Yeah, that's right. It frees all your incubations like a Borg baby in a drawer.
They're incubator drawers. That's so much better.
It just frees your Borg babies. And
It's baby
so
storage.
it's not all sexy all the time, but it does free. This is, of course, the iconic image of Sulu topless with a fencing sword and things like that.
Oh my gosh, I have to watch that.
Yeah, fighting. It's very good. It is on our all-time list of Star Trek Wars out of 716 episodes. It is 313th out of 716 with a 6.65.
Okay.
And I would like to mention, I gave that episode an 8.
Okay.
It was everybody else that betrayed me that week.
Well, we'll have to watch it, and I'll tell you what I'll give it.
But 6.65 is very good. Just looking at it, in order for an episode to be in the top 250, you have to be a 7 or a higher. So, close. And yes, of course, I picked this episode because it's naked time, which they took quite literal.
Yeah, why does he have an X on his butt cheek? It's like X marks the spot or something.
He's got a lot of scratches from
he is
Dr.
dating a cat.
Ta'ana. Yeah,
that makes sense.
And yes, so the naked time isn't about just it's naked time, but I feel like that comes from our instructor who wants them to fail, and that was the quickest way to get Mariner to fail out is by seeing Boimler spread eagle just
my God.
going full Boim. And humor is all subjective because we hated the Magato episode because of the sexual stuff just didn't land. But last week with Billups, hilarious. The naked time scene this week, I thought it was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, I think it's just because we don't want to watch giant apes have sex.
Maybe.
The sexual themes of the last 2 episodes, we're not watching them actively have sex and then having a third party just observe.
Possibly.
Just saying.
Number 2 on our Trekcommendation list is an episode called Silicon Avatar. And it is Next Generation, Season 5, Episode 4.
What?
Silicon Avatar. Any questions, Chelsea?
Is this where Geordi makes himself a girlfriend?
No.
Okay.
That's a good guess.
Yeah, I have some questions. Who's the main character?
There's a lot of Picard and Data, but there's a guest character in this week that there's a certain situation that they're having, and they bring in a guest character who lost a son to this thing they're investigating and has become an expert in the field.
Have I seen this episode?
No, but you should, which is why I'm kind of being vague about some of the spoilery stuff because it's a really good episode.
Lost a son to somebody and now is an expert in this field.
Yes.
Does this have something to do with crystalline entities overtaking a rogue planet?
Yes. Yes. It does. This was the crystalline entity was in 2 episodes,
Okay.
or at least mentioned. It was in this episode. It basically is a living thing that
Okay.
it's not evil, but it's gigantic.
Yeah.
And it just strips planets to eat.
Yeah.
So it's like stepping on ants. It's not purposely doing harm, but it did destroy a planet and they're trying to figure out and trying to find a way to communicate it. So they bring in a scientist who lost a son to the crystalline entity.
Okay.
Just in ways, because at this point, they've only seen one crystalline entity. As far as they know, it's the last one in the galaxy. So they bring in this doctor who has very personal
ties.
Yeah. And things go away. The doctor works a lot with Data because the crystalline entity worked with Data's brother, Lore, on Data's homeworld. And the crystalline entity destroyed that world. And it is believed that Lore actually worked with the crystalline entity.
Yeah, typical lore. Am I right?
Yes.
That is the Star Trekiest storyline ever.
Yes. So the scientist, her son was on that planet. So she
Okay.
gets very close with Data because he has all the emails and personal logs of everybody on that planet. So he's kind of like the last
Okay.
piece that she has of her son.
Not like Tasha Yar close to Data.
No.
Okay, thank God.
And that is The Naked Now, the sequel to The Naked Time, which was like the 3rd episode of the
Are you
next
serious?
gen. That's why Yar gets on. Yar. She gets on with Data.
Yar,
because
she
of
gets on.
Yeah, the Naked Now.
That's upsetting.
Silicon Avatar had a final average score of a 7.1.
Okay.
So that puts it within our 250 at number 234.
Nice.
Great episode. And another great episode, our number 1 Trekcommendation of this week, is an episode called Q-Hoo.
Oh my God, it's one of my favorites, isn't it?
I don't know if you've seen it.
Q-Who? Didn't we watch that one?
Q titles are tricky because they all have Q in them.
That's true, because Q is tricky.
Exactly. That's why they do that.
Q-Who is when he sends them and they have to play Robin Hood. No? Frick. Okay, hang on. Let me try again.
Pid.
Damn it. Okay. No, because what's the one where he tells Picard, he's like, the trial never ends?
The final episode?
Yeah.
All good things.
Okay, so Q-Who must be the first Q episode.
The series premiere.
Yes.
Encounter at Farpoint.
What?
A Q-Who is next.
I'm not done yet.
I was going to give you
Okay.
some help.
Okay.
Ma'am. Before I call the cops and have you escorted
Hey.
out of this
My
restaurant.
house, damn it.
It's season 2, episode 16. So it's late on
Is
season 2.
this the one where he goes, eating any good books lately?
Nope. That's his next appearance after that in season 3. That you love, where he loses his powers.
So that's the one.
You were thinking of, but it's not that one.
Okay, so Q-Who is about, obviously, Q.
The title does not help you with what the premise of this episode is. It's a shame.
It's not the one where, no, that's the one where Q loses his powers and there's like another Q that shows up and makes fun of him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is the introduction of the Borg.
Oh, so he sends the crew of Next Gen to the Borg, and it's like, what the fuck, right? And is that where he gets assimilated and
No.
becomes Locutus?
Nope.
Then I don't want to live here anymore.
No, but this is the first time we ever see the Borg at all.
And he intentionally brings Starfleet into battle with them.
Yes, and the reason that I picked this episode is because this is the one and only appearance until today of Borg babies in a drawer.
Hold up, there's actual Borg babies in a drawer?
Yes, it's been put aside and never talked about again. But the very first episode with the Borg, there are Borg babies.
Why are we not talking about this? It is so practical. That is a good way to store your babies.
Yeah, the Borg they got a few things right.
Yeah.
Now, of course, this is a huge episode of Star Trek. This was number 75 on our list of 716 episodes with an average score of an 8.36. So Huge episode. It's got the Q. It's got Guinan. It's got the Borg. It's got Borg babies.
Is this where you find out that Q is scared of Guinan?
Yes.
Okay. Dang it.
Lots of
thought of that earlier.
super great stuff in that episode. All right, that's it. That's been it for Trekcommendations.
Solid.
All right, let's get into fan comments and hear what you guys had to say about this week's episode. Chris Rowell says, if only I had the Riker maneuver in Naked Time for additional comedic effects. That's all we need is a naked Boimler putting his leg over the back of a chair to sit down.
Oh, no. That would have been a good Kayshawn thing.
Yes. Still a 10 for me. Hilarious. Will Flores says, this one was pretty funny. I enjoyed all the episode references, and Boimler redoing the Borg trial over and over had me rolling. I think my favorite line was when Mariner threw herself out of the airlock screaming, "Put me back in the Western." 8 slices from the new replicators. And finally, Wayne Fraser says, okay, this would have gotten a perfect score for me, except Amazon in Australia didn't censor Boimler's bits. I'm going to need therapy and have to deduct a point. Other than that, it was an amazing episode, and I loved every minute of it. This season's crisis point. P.S. Of course they censored it, guys. Calm down.
Oh, God.
10 easily. All right, let's go ahead and review this one. Chelsea, would you give I Excretus?
I'm giving it 10 little Borg babies tucked in a drawer.
Oh,
10 little Borg babies and not a single one more.
Okay, work on that. 10. That is 2 10s in a row.
I know. I like
Chelsea.
this
This
show.
season is
They're really good.
flying by. Yes, absolutely. I'm going to give this one a 9. 2 9s in a row.
Oh.
9 appendages floating from 3 Pandronians.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Did a little math there.
You did. Outdid yourself.
Thank you. Star Trek Wars Council give an average score of an 8.55.
Sweet.
So great all about. All right.
So it'll be in the top 250.
Oh, it's a great question. We don't count
It wasn't a question.
the newer tracks with the original tracks here. Only not because like hashtag new track.
Oh my God.
It's more of a new thing. It's so hard. You're looking at me like I'm a villain. Let me explain. I love all this new track stuff, but it's also sometimes hard to be subjective when we're getting new stuff. Sometimes, like the 716 episodes have been out there for 20 years. You kind of can reflect. It's hard to reflect on something I just saw for the first time because I'm overjoyed and loving it. So we have them in their own categories for now.
Okay.
So that time can go in there and we can take a look. I'm not a villain.
You were just like hardcore mean girl vibes when you're like, we don't include that in the original series here. It's like, oh, okay.
They have
sorry.
their own table over there. That is
Oh my God.
That is
sorry
not how I meant
asked.
it. No.
Oh my gosh, that was hilarious.
Oh God. I had all this time to actually do the calculations and I didn't. Oh boy. Do you have any fun anecdotes, Chelsea?
Mm-mm.
Thanks for the help.
You're welcome.
Divided by 3. Okay.
Oh my God.
This is very good. So, how did Lower Decks do this week? I'm a bit rattled. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like I'm being attacked.
I feel like I need to like video one of these so everybody can appreciate what I get to watch. It's amazing.
I feel like I like the whole senators looking at me.
It's fantastic.
I need like a glass of water.
I'll have to do that. I'll have to record just you doing this.
I mean, whew.
No pressure.
Humanity is not the only thing on trial here. How did Lower Decks do this week? Using the combined average score of ourselves and you guys who voted at home, finally, I Excretus comes to you with an average score of a 9.18. That's pretty
Nice.
great.
9?
9.18. Giving it a dinosaur roar. And that'll do it for this week. Star Trek Wars is available on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and anywhere else fine podcasts are heard. And you can find us on Twitter at the Star Trek Wars. And if you want any merchandise, head over to redbubble.com or follow the link attached to this episode. And make sure to give our main podcast a listen, as we have already covered every single episode of Star Trek ever released and are currently running through all the Trek movies. In fact, we are just about to get into Nemesis. Mm-hmm. Chelsea, always a pleasure. Thank you for doing this with me.
Thanks for having me.
And there is lots coming up here at Star Trek Wars in the next couple weeks. Look for the roundtable discussion of Insurrection, hosted by Senior Council Member James King, featuring you guys at home, to drop any day now. Right after this recording, Chelsea and I are off to watch Nemesis for next week's big review, which will most likely be the final time all 6 of the Star Trek Wars hosts are together. And the two of us will be back next week for the penultimate episode of Lower Decks Season 2. Only 2 episodes left of the season.
Okay.
Lots happening, and we will see you guys all next time.
Thanks for listening to Star Trek Wars.